Good morning, everybody. Good morning, you beautiful bunch of fuckers, and welcome to my world. I'm your host, Kevin Rutherford. It's Tuesday, February 3rd. As you can see, I think I'm still fighting with a little bit of brain fog. Too much mold exposure. But I'm here. It'll get better. The good news is I have a team here to support me today. So if my brain isn't working properly, theirs will be. Bruce and Eric, we're just going to bring everybody in and get to it today. Good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. And our brains are working great.
Good. I could use the support today. Mine is not functioning well.
that octane oil is not kicking in?
No, it's keeping me here. But I think the mold exposure is it's showing up too. It's been about a week now, and it's not, as of yet, it's not getting better. But we just got everything all cleaned up. Our test came back, they're looking better. So I just think while they're working here and I've been around it, it's gotten worse.
There was a lady that's on our Thursday meetings, Zoom meetings for LifeWave patches, and her and her husband suffered from a house filled with mold, and they were deathly sick. And the LifeWave patches fixed them. So yeah. I don't know which patches it was, but I could always find out.
Yeah. I've got a whole protocol worked out, which is the first step in any protocol with mold is you got to get away from the mold. Lisa's actually living over at the homestead because it had really affected her. And the crazy thing is the mold issue is bigger than most people think. And there was no visible mold anywhere in our house, no damage, no water damage, no visible anything. But we knew we had a water leak around the window. Turns out it was actually the deck above the window, and it's been like this since the house was built. Surprisingly, it only occurred when the wind was blowing in a very specific direction and blew it right at that corner, which didn't happen often. But it was enough over the years that there was definitely, I mean, we tore that room apart, the siding's off, the drywall's off, floor's gone. And we did find mold, and we tested, and it is the same mold that we're testing for on our medical test. So we know it's there. It was really affecting Lisa bad. So she's over at the homestead, and I'm here trying to take care of it. But I'm feeling the effects.
One other health.
Sure.
Sure. I want to ask you one other health question. Lisa has a trampoline, a little, 4 foot in diameter trampoline, and so do I. And my chiropractor told me the benefits of jumping on that. Do you know what benefits and why Lisa bought the trampoline?
Yeah, so there's a couple. There's the cardio. I mean, when you jump on it, your heart rate's going to go up. You're going to breathe hard. There's the obvious, which is the cardio effects. The bigger effect and why the trampoline specifically is to move lymph fluid. So lymph fluid is what our immune system uses all throughout our body. So if you've heard of, cancer of the lymph nodes, which is actually what my mother died from, the lymph system, which includes our spleen, our immune system, all of it, keeps us healthy by moving lymph fluid around. Now, when we were more active, when we were physically active, that took care of itself. Our body is designed to, when we move, and the more we move and the more active we are, the more the lymph fluid moves. But because we sit so long and we're not active, our lymph fluid gets like sludge. And it just doesn't move well. And that's what can cause lymph cancer. It weakens our immune system. So it's important to keep that lymph fluid moving. And the trampoline is one way. The other way is what are called vibra plates. So you stand on it and it vibrates. The problem with that industry is if the vibra plate you're looking at is anywhere under about $1,500, don't buy it, because it's not going to work. It's just pure economics. There's a very specific frequency to vibrate at to get the lymph fluid moving. It's not just any vibration. There's a very specific frequency that gets the lymph fluid moving. In order to create that frequency, takes a very large electric motor and a very, very heavy platform. I had an engineer build me one. I was going to try to shrink one down enough that we could get it into a truck, but you can't. You can't make it that small. It just, you can't maintain that frequency that's needed. And to build the platform that heavy and then have that big electric motor makes it expensive. And there's just no way around it.
Okay. All right. Well, that's interesting.
That's what
okay.
the trampoline.
Do you jump on? Do you jump? Do you jump on the trampoline?
I don't, because I use I do have the vibra plate, and I use the vibra plate for that.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to say I belong on Facebook to the NTC N14 group, and daily people are sending in pictures and asking questions, and a lot of the people answering the questions are answering them correct. There's a lot of sharp people there that still run this old iron, and I'm impressed with the suggestions. Occasionally, I find them wrong, but about 85% of the time, they're right on their diagnostics, helping the other people.
Hey, Bruce, I have a little story about that same kind of topic. Kind of an odd, funny story, but I'm trying to write stories because I love stories, and I've read a million books, and I've always wanted to write one. So I'm trying to leverage AI to actually write a book. I've been working on it for about a year. It's still harder than I thought it was going to be. But I have an idea for a story that I was working on just this weekend. And I won't go through where it came from. It's a long, drawn-out story. But the premise of the story is that a truck comes alive. You know, there's been stories like this. Stephen King did one, I think Maximum Overdrive. You know, the whole idea of autonomous vehicles, and, you know, they're going to come alive and they're going to kill us all. Well, to make this story more ironic, the truck that comes to life is completely mechanical. It's not AI at all. It doesn't have any computer chips. It's a mechanical 3406. When I was doing it, I was trying to figure out what year this truck should be. Like, what year was this truck born? And then when did it come alive? It didn't come alive till after 3 million miles. But I thought, oh, you know what a good date would be? I'll have the truck come to life in 1986 when I bought my first truck. That was my thought on the year. Well, and when I thought about it, I thought I was correct. I thought, oh, well, that's going to be a good year anyway, because I'm going to make this truck a 379. Because that'll be, you know, it's all chrome and, you know, high horsepower, but it comes alive. Well, the minute I posted it, it was like 30 seconds later, I started getting messages. The 379 was not released until 1987. I missed it by 1 year, but people caught it really quick.
Yeah.
I thought it was 86. When was the W9? The W9 had to be earlier than that, wasn't it?
Well, you had the W9, you had the A model, then you had the B model. So, but the W9L, L was a little different there, because that's whenever they had to put the muffler underneath, because the cab and the bunk were a unicab. I'm starting to forget the years now. But it was mid-87 on stopped the 359 and went to the 379.
Yeah. Yeah, I missed it by a year. But I was shocked at how fast people caught that and how many people got it. Yeah.
Yeah. So there was one fella who had rocker boxes broken on an 838 CPL. My truck was the 840 CPL. And somebody said, yeah, they break all the time. And I typed back, I said, I've never seen one break. And but you have to watch on the 838 and the 840 CPL, they had a different camshaft. The injector traveled 4 thousandths less. Instead of 224 travel, they traveled at 220. And they had a 14-degree spray angle, because they were a 16.5 to 1 compression ratio, which was very rare for a mechanical engine. And the standard like the 400 was 14-1, the 350 was 14.5-1, and the 300 was 15-1. They all used an 18-degree angle, spray angle on the injector cup. So something had to be set wrong, whether it was the injectors or somebody put in the wrong camshaft to break those rocker boxes. And so I left my phone number in there. I said, call me. And he did, a young fellow, 24 years old from outside of Chicago. And we've had some nice talks, and I need to give him a call to get him straightened out there. Then I had a call the other day. We built a big cam for a 359 Pete for this guy's father's. It was his father's truck, and the father passed away, I think, in 2011. Same engine still in the truck, still running. Now the truck hasn't run since his father passed away, but he's redoing the injectors, and we've been in touch. And it's nice to hear reports like that our engine's still running 26 years later.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was a high horsepower one. And then I have a fellow with a 379. It's going from 325 to 264 gears. But he also has another truck with an A-cert, and he's out of Denver. No, this is the same truck. I'm sorry, 2007 NXS A-cert. When he first starts it up and it's cold and he leaves his driveway, he has it at 140 degrees, but it's 150 degrees by the time he hits I-70. Until from 150 degrees until 180, it spits and sputters. And he had it in Wagner Caterpillar in Denver, and they weren't able to find anything. So one of our remote tune fellas is going to hook into it at 7 o'clock at night, and we'll have JR. That'll be 9 o'clock at our time, and we'll have JR monitor it as he's driving eastbound on I-70 to see if we can find out what's causing that problem. And when we get places where the OEM certified dealer can't fix a problem when we can, that makes us pretty proud. So
yeah,
I'm anxious to see that one. Plus, I fly into Denver tomorrow, so if we can't get our dealer there, I think I have a remote tune kit up at the house.
Oh.
And bad news is where the West is lacking of snow, and the East has all the snow. And Vermont seems to have the most, but we're not moving our owner-operator snowmobile conference from Wyoming to Vermont. But right now, Josh Schaefer and Mike Lane and Mike Johnson are looking at different places. I'll go up to Rabbit Ears Pass this weekend and check that out. We're looking for snow. So those of us, there's 21 people attending so far. And if you get a phone call from me, we may have to change locations, may. But there is a fellow that's registered called Graham Cook, and I don't know him, and neither does any of my other people. And also Lyle, B-E-R-E-N-S, Burns, and Todd James. If anyone knows these people, have them call them and have them call me, because they might be part of the snowmobile conference, or maybe it's someone who just registered at the same place on their own. But we may be changing locations. We're going to try not to, but this is just a pre-warning.
All right.
That's what I have, sir.
I have mentioned several times this week that it's been such a strange winter. Florida has more snow than we've had here in Oregon.
Yeah, it's 37 degrees here in Southwest Florida this morning, and yeah, it's just amazing. 37 degrees and blue sky and sunshine in Colorado is warm. 37 degrees in Florida is just bitterly cold.
Yeah, we're my guess is based on the way it felt this morning. I hadn't looked yet, but I'll look real quick. We're 43 and warm, and we're going to be over 50. We're going to be up into the mid 50s today. And there's sunshine, which we don't normally see in the wintertime either. We've had a lot more sun than we normally have, and very, very mild to warm temperatures. No cold snaps, no snow, no nothing.
I know the people that promote climate change say, well, it also affects the winters and it can make the winters colder and the summers hotter, but that sounds like a Band-Aid to me. Like,
Well,
they're just.
here's my take on this. Is there climate change? Hell yes, of course there is. The planet has been changing as far back as we can go. Weren't we taught in high school that at one time all of the continents were one giant landmass?
Well, I can tell you, Lake McConaughey in Nebraska, it's over where 76 comes out of Denver and hits Interstate 80 in Nebraska.
Yeah.
I was there one time with some clients, and I asked the locals, I said, where'd all this sand come from? They said, well, this was ocean at one time.
That's what I mean. Of course, the climate changes. We've been through ice ages. We've been through periods of warming, cooling. It changes all the time. It's dynamic. It's never going to stop. So I agree. There's absolutely climate change, but not the way we talk about it. We can even go to the next step.
Right.
Do humans affect it? How could they not? How many billions of us are there on the planet? And look at all the stuff we do and build. Of course, we've impacted it. It'd be impossible for us not to. So I agree all the way up until that point. What I completely disagree with is what we should be doing to try to fix it. We're not smart enough to know.
And we're only one country.
Yeah, exactly. So I absolutely, the climate is changing. Here's something else that has been occurring, and it's getting worse. This week, we've seen some of the biggest solar flares in a very, very long time. The North and South poles are both moving a lot. We're talking miles. They're moving. And that's what's screwing up the protective field we have around the Earth that protects us from these solar storms. And when they start moving, then it's weak. This is why we're starting to see the northern lights in Florida at times and way down south, because the poles are shifting and we're losing that protection. Now, if you believe the theories, this has happened before, hundreds of thousands of years ago. And when it does, we have massive climate change that goes along with it. That's what has ushered in ice ages and other things. When the poles shift, it totally throws off our climate.
Yeah. You're absolutely correct on that, Kevin, because in boating magazines, they're telling you how many degrees to compensate your compass if you're navigating out in the ocean via compass.
Yeah, it's a mess.
They're telling you how much to compensate for. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
All right, sir.
Eric, what do you got this morning?
Hey, good morning, Kevin. I got a couple of things I'd like to go over. Recently, I've been kind of taken aback a little bit where people call in and asking questions about the LPS, and they didn't know that we had the Gen 2 out.
So I just talked about it this morning. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So we've learned to adapt to, just like climate change. We've had Pittsburgh power change here. We're adapting to the new climate and the whole geographics of trucking. One of the big things is with the introduction of the DPF filters back in 2008 or late 2007, the truck engines run at different temperatures, specifically the oil and even the coolant. They run them hotter because hotter exhaust gases produce less particulate matter. It's going to be a cleaner air system going through there. So we didn't see the necessity or the big need for having the heating element on these newer trucks. So
Right.
We've simplified the unit, and it's something that usually doesn't get done. Usually when you get a new and improved version, it's got better and upgraded features than the last one. We've kind of shifted lateral on this, where we didn't go backwards, but we actually went forward because it's much more economically priced and it's much more simplistic, and it also has a lifetime warranty on the head unit. If the head unit breaks or cracks or whatever may happen to it, as long as you don't run it over, manufacturer's defect, that we're going to cover it for the life of however long you have your truck. So with this, it's going to be an easier install. It's going to open up markets for a lot more applications too. specifically pickup trucks and even like equipment and stuff too. Now without having the heating element, the pressure is on the feed and the return line. So it can actually pump the oil back into wherever you need it to be. So the return line doesn't have to be 100% fall for gravity back into the pan. On the pickup trucks, this is going to be a big ordeal because now you can buy like an oil fill cap with a nipple fitting on it and just literally plug the return line in and it'll return the oil back in through the valve cover. Pieces of equipment, skid steers, they're in some of the worst environments I've ever ran them in, dust and dirt and everything. And darn well the air filters aren't going to filter out 100%. They just can't. So if you've ever worked on a skid steer, sometimes it's a little hectic getting in that little compartment to work on those engines. And this is going to open up a whole new avenue for that too. So, and you can run this on gasoline, diesel, whatever engines you want to, but because it's a much more compact design, it's going to open up the market for a lot of different applications. So if you have something that you weren't sure of before, please check it out. PittsburghPower.com or give us a call. We're, of course, going to be at Louisville debuting it. We're going to be at the truck show, have a live display set up. We have a couple cool promotions going on down there, too. We'll talk about that later. But it's a really good product, and we've actually simplified it, which usually is not what I hear when I see new and improved. Sometimes companies will overcomplicate it or over-engineer it. We've done the opposite. We try to keep it simple and make it work. The other big announcement we have is something we've been working on for as long as I can remember, since the catalyst came out. We now have a dealer in Alaska. This is a huge stepping stone for us because we've had tons and tons of customers up there ask us, hey, can you get catalyst up here? No, not yet. Well, now we actually have our first dealer up there. His name is Del Puro, and he has a shop in Fairbanks, Alaska.
Wow.
Now, yeah.
He's up there.
And yeah, he is. Now, he drives around too. I think he drives truck as well, but he has a shop that he's going to stock it at. And this gentleman drove his pickup truck down to North Carolina to get loaded up with this and then drove all the way back out. So he must like to drive a little bit.
Yeah, that's a
long commute.
Yeah, it is.
I don't have Dell's street address yet, but I do have his phone number. And for anybody listening out there in Alaska or Northern Canada, anybody going to Alaska that needs to pick up a jug, Dell's phone number is area code 907 230 9312 and give Dell a call, and he will help you out with all your catalyst needs in Alaska now. So this is
excellent.
It's exciting news. Branching out, and we're covering. We're trying to get all 49 states. I don't know about Hawaii. We'll try to get there sooner or later.
There you go. There you go. Not many semis over there.
No, not many, but there are some.
Yeah.
And it's funny, when I do calls from those guys, I have to time it like our Australian customers, where I have to wait until usually like 2 in the afternoon, because I think they're like 6 hours behind us, if I'm not mistaken.
6, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So when I call them, they're just getting out of bed, and I'm just finishing lunch, and we talk back and forth. There's a lot of big cams over there. Like, I was shocked at how many mechanicals they still run over there.
That would make more sense. Probably see a lot of that in the Caribbean islands too. And I know I saw it in Costa Rica. I mean, they've been getting our leftovers for decades, and they keep them and keep them running.
Yes, a lot of the countries along the equator absolutely run big cams.
Yeah,
tons of them still out there.
Hey,
and you get like a shocker when you talk to those people over there, and you start talking about the cost of living and how much, like, even going to McDonald's costs, or a gallon of gas or diesel. It blows away.
Yeah. Speaking a couple things, you mentioned northern Alaska, Fairbanks. When you get out into some of the villages out up there, there are a lot of places in Alaska. There are no roads. It's fly in only. That's not uncommon. Yep. The capital, you can't drive to the capital of Alaska. I always thought that was bizarre. The first time I heard that, I thought that can't be right. But I'm pretty sure that's still right. I don't think you can drive to the capital. Somebody will correct me if I'm wrong about that. But there are a lot of places. I've been to Barrow, and I just saw a show the other day, milk I think milk was almost $9 a gallon.
Jeez.
Yeah. Yeah, everything has to be flown in. Yeah, or a reindeer. Can you milk a reindeer? I don't know. Probably not. If you, if you can milk an almond, you must be able to milk a reindeer. One other thing on the Hawaii, that time zone change, 6-hour difference. When I was on the midnight show, and it was killing me, trying to run a business and do the midnight show, and it was just brutal after a couple of years of that. Lisa and I went over and lived in Hawaii on the North Shore for a month looking for a house. We were going to move because instead of midnight, I was on at 6 o'clock at night. It was a whole lot easier. So the problem was, after spending a month over there, it gets really small. And you start thinking about traveling back here and how difficult that is when I have to come back for events. And so we compromised and landed on the West Coast. And now I don't have a midnight show anymore, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. I remember the midnight show, trying to get back to sleep.
That was brutal.
It was tough.
Yeah.
It was Friday night, and that's my Friday night was my wind down night, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the night I would come home from work and jump on the John Deere and cut the grass just to free the mind. And sometime after that, just jump on the Harley Davidson for an hour and go for a ride. And then I couldn't fall asleep knowing that we had to start the show at midnight.
Exactly.
So then around 11 o'clock, I would doze off, but I had that alarm set for 11:30 and it would wake up. And I thought, how am I going to talk on this show? And then the very first phone call, it was like an overdose of caffeine. It just would waken you up. And then the problem was
you couldn't go back to sleep.
We're done at 1 o'clock.
Right.
Couldn't get back to sleep.
Right. You know? And I used to,
it was tough.
So I did that 5 nights a week. And then some nights, and sometimes it was 2 or 3 times a week we would do this. If I had a lot of calls, and I usually did, we would end the live hour and I would stay and we would do a recorded hour with all of our leftover calls. And then I would play that in the 2 off nights, so it was still like live content. So I'd get up at 11 because I'd go to bed at like 9, get a 2-hour nap, get up at 11, get ready for the show. I'd finish at 2 in the morning and not be able to fall asleep till like 4. I was so wound up. Then I'd end up getting up at 7 or 8 because I had the truck still then, and there was always something going on. After a couple of years, I was a mess. That's why we had to change. I mean, that was just brutal. That was worse. There was a time when I had the trucks at FedEx that I was the extra driver. I had dedicated runs and I had an extra truck, and I would just use the extra truck whenever they needed me, or if I wanted, to work more. But to get maximum mileage like that, I would put myself on both dispatches morning and night, and I'd end up switching back and forth. That was pretty brutal too, but the radio show was worse.
Yeah. Kevin, I think back sometimes on how hard I worked when I was young. Sometimes it was 7 days a week, and I would go down on Sundays into the Ohio River Valley and work on trucks that ran 6 days a week, and sometimes till 11 o'clock at night we worked and be back at it at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. I thought, how did I do that?
Yeah, I know.
And now that I'll be in February 12th, I'll be 77. I think, gee, that was almost impossible. But when you're young, you do it and you just work through it. And when you love what you do, it doesn't matter. And that was what I absolutely loved what I did. Loved helping people have their trucks run better.
Yeah.
But we were just talking about the catalyst. And a few years back, people were teasing me on the show saying, if you got a flat tire, Bruce will say put catalyst in it, put catalyst in everything. It fixes everything. Well, guess what? We don't have a whole lot of people calling in with problems anymore.
No, that is true. Yeah. Yeah, the first time I looked a little odd at the whole thing was the first chainsaw, but then people would call and say, no, I can tell the difference. And it makes sense. An engine's an engine,
Mhm.
you know, it really is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. But no, it's been a miracle fluid for what it's done for our clients.
I
And
agree.
every time I hear people bitching and complaining of their emission systems, I
Oh.
know they're not running the max mileage catalyst, and I'll ask them about it. And most of them never heard of it. So
I'm glad you brought that up. I did have a topic today. I almost forgot. Emissions. So
okay,
there's a report that came out, and it's real. This administration is not going to criminally prosecute people for emissions tampering. The last administration was using criminal prosecution. Like you could do jail time over this. This administration has dropped that. No criminal prosecution. Now, the story was about pickup trucks specifically, but I'm sure it's going to apply to all emissions on all vehicles. But here's what's happening on social media. Immediately, people started saying, "Oh, look, we can do deletes. It's legal now," is what they're saying. No, it's not. That's not what this was about. And you shouldn't be doing deletes anyway. Spec the truck right, operate it, use the catalyst. You'll be much happier with an intact truck than any delete. But what they're missing is they only dropped criminal prosecution. You can't do jail time over this. They are still prosecuting civilly. And the fines have been averaging about $8,000 per truck. That's to the owner of the truck. They're not going after shops criminally anymore, but they are going after owners of vehicles civilly. So this is not a free-for-all. It is not, the emissions haven't gone away. All the regulations still exist, and they will still prosecute civilly over these things. So but social media is making it sound like they got rid of all the emission regulations and you can do whatever you want now. It's just not true. They're just not going to put you in jail. That's all that's really changed.
I agree.
All right. Do we have anything else, or should we get to some calls?
Let's do calls.
Let's do it. Let's go to California. Mike, welcome.
Hey, good morning. I wanted to just refer back to Kevin O'Sullivan posted a couple days ago on the Tribe site about a video of the full cal manifold compared to the Cummins stock manifold for the intake manifold. I remembered that Pittsburgh Powder, you guys have your own manifold that you have available, but also I believe it was ceramic coated on the inside as well.
Yeah, our manifolds are ported, polished, ceramic coated. They're usually good for about 1/4 mile per gallon and about 30 to 35 horsepower on our dyno. But the big thing that they do is they lower the exhaust temperatures anywhere between 75 and 50 degrees. So you can stay in the engine, pulling part of the engine a lot longer. You don't have to worry about it doing any damage. It's just a freer flowing manifold. And they balance them. Like cylinders 1 and 6 are balanced to each other, 2 and 5 and 3 and 4, because you don't want to have cylinder 1 or 6 slow more than 3 or 4 because that's the furthest one away from a turbo. So there's a lot of research, development. They even use a stronger silica, that like the actual material they use to pour it with is a stronger material right from the get-go. So we have a superior product just from that alone. A lot of the shortcomings and flaws we saw in the previous models from manufacturers from the OEM have been corrected. The biggest one that comes to my mind is the Detroits. If you've ever...
Hi, I'm Kevin Rutherford. If you like this video, hit like and subscribe or leave a comment below. It really helps us get the show out to more people. If you'd like to get the show, the full show, ad-free, you can sign up with the link below.